Uh, we already kind of talked about this morning a little bit, Avowed, anyways. But specifically, Avowed Dev has good news for those upset by graphics. A developer from Obsidian provides a glimpse into the development of Avowed, assuring fans the game will look better at launch. I disagree. First sentiment here. Though Avowed has left a solid impression on Pillars of Eternity fans during the Summer Game Fest, one of the developers has given an insight into the project's development and why players needn't worry about some of its blemishes just yet. Obsidian Entertainment, the team behind beloved titles such as Knights of the Old Republic 2, Fallout New Vegas, Pillars of Eternity games, began work on Avowed with the intention of making its own take on a fantasy sandbox. Parallels with Fallout New Vegas were obvious, which caused many fans to view Avowed as Obsidian Skyrim. In the same world as Pillars of Eternity, Avowed takes players on a journey to the Living Lands, a mystical island full of strange plants and beasts, and a location of unknown interest to the Adiran Empire. Much like in Pillars of Eternity, fans will be able to create their own character, albeit only as the two races of Adir, human and elf. This is a huge turnoff for me. There are many races in this universe, and you can only be human or elf in the game, which is so weird. In contrast to its predecessor, Avowed will strip back the top-down view, place players directly into the first-person perspective, allowing more visceral combat and immersion. Much like the Elder Scrolls games, players won't be pigeonholed into a certain class, which also is a bit of a turnoff for me. Because when you play Pillars, that's what you do. It's very classic RPG. You create a character, and I mean, I've talked about this. I know they might be trying to appeal to a different audience and get people into the Pillars universe and the world of Eora and the lore behind it and stuff, maybe. But, dude, Avowed is a game that's been viewed as a hype kind of experience that a lot of Pillars of Eternity fans have been waiting on for a long time. And to now find out that there are a lot of things about this game that just aren't Pillars is, for me, a huge turnoff. So you're no longer going to be going through like the Pillars character creation stuff. You're not going to have a class where Pillars 1 was like specific class, solo class based up at a lot of classes. Then Pillars 2 was like you could multi-class, pick two classes, main and secondary class that your character would be. It got even more deep with the character creation that way. But you could be all kinds of different races and stuff too. And it feels like they're just going really shallow with this. And honestly, I mean, if I wanted this kind of play style in a game, I'd play Dragon's Dogma. If I wanted to be not locked into a class, I'll go play Dragon's Dogma. And that's what I'm going to do instead anyways. I was going to play Dragon's Dogma anyways, but now I probably won't even play Avowed because I'm not getting the Pillars of Eternity experience that I was expecting to get out of Avowed. And it doesn't mean it's going to be bad, but it's not going to be what I wanted out of this game. From wielding a blunderbuss and sword to casting spells to smashing their foes with a large hammer, Avowed offers plenty of freedom when it comes to choosing a playstyle. However, video game enthusiasts haven't exactly been impressed with Avowed's graphical presentation, nor with the apparent scope of the game. An Obsidian developer going by the name of Brian Diem reassured fans on the RPG Codex forums that Avowed hasn't yet entered alpha, and the graphics would almost certainly be touched up over the course of development. Is it Briar or Brian? Breyer, excuse me. Breyer DM went on to say that while designs were set in stone, players should expect the final product to ship with better lighting and art. Furthermore, Avowed is slated to have the longest alpha and beta stage of any Obsidian title, which bodes well for fans worried it would be riddled with bugs. Gameplay in Avowed lets players create exciting elemental interactions, putting spells and magic into the spotlight. It takes the easy pick-up combat of Skyrim and refines it into something unique. Important thing to keep in mind is that Avowed is structured more as Knights of the Old Republic 2. Unlike Skyrim or Oblivion, it is an intricate web of interconnected zones rather than a pure open-world sandbox. Obsidian Entertainment claims that it's aiming for breadth rather than width, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Ultimately, players hope that Avowed reimagines Pillars, but it's not going to. It's going to be a shallow version of Pillars, really, is what it's going to be. Pillars of Eternity games are deep, 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 deep with lore, narrative, and even through the entry process of creating your character and deciding the background of your character and figuring out who they are and things like that. And this game is just feeling shallow already to me. It takes the franchise to a new level of popularity. The track record for Obsidian certainly proves it can be a success. I like Obsidian. I think they do good things. We're playing an Obsidian game right now in Grounded, but I can already tell you that like this game is a turnoff for me. It's not what myself personally, it's not what I expected to be getting out of a first-person Pillars of Eternity game, which is what I always thought Avowed was going to be. And apparently, it's not. Apparently, that's not what they wanted it to be. And so, for me, it's just lost a lot of the hype for me now. And I'll be honest with you, I thought the game looked fine. It didn't blow me away, but again, I'm much more worried about the content of a game and the gameplay and how good it feels, does it perform well, things like that, than I am about the overall graphical fidelity of a game, you know? So I don't know, man. I'm just it's not there for me anymore, man. We're not getting Pillars. We're not getting that deep Pillars RPG experience, you know, in Avowed that so many of us have become accustomed with that have played Pillars 1 and have played Pillars 2. It doesn't seem like. I mean, the game hasn't come out yet, so I don't totally know. But I mean, just from the fact of only being able to pick between, and I know they've got some narrative where you know you're coming over here as part of the Adirian Empire and stuff. So maybe they're like, well, you should only be able to be two classes or whatever. But for what Pillars was and for what so many of us were hyped about for Avowed, it feels very constrained. And I mean, I'll just speak for myself and not all other Pillars fans, but it feels constrained. It feels shallow, and the fact that you don't pick a class to be able to, I mean, I don't know. It's not Pillars, man. It's not Pillars. So I'll link this if you guys want to take a look. Doesn't seem like it will be anyways. Obviously, I mean, we knew the gameplay was going to be different all the time because this is a first-person kind of medieval experience, or first-person experience in the world of eora, as opposed to like the top-down Pillars thing. But I think many of us still expected to get a lot of that Pillars vibe off of this game, and it doesn't seem like we're going to get as nearly as much of that as we were expecting.